aka Greys, EBE, Little Green Men. Description: the most widely reported type of alien is a small gray, being approximately 1.0 and 1.25 m in height, with large oval black eyes and skin colors ranging from gray-white to gray-brown to gray-green to gray-blue. Erect standing biped, small thin build, large and rounded rear skull area, head larger than humans with inverted triangular shape, absence of auditory lobes and nose, absence of body hair, large oval tear-shaped eyes which are opaque black with vertical slit pupils, arms resembling praying mantis which reach to the knees, long hands with small palm, claw-like fingers, 2, 3 or 4 fingers, tough gray skin which is reptilian in texture, small feet with 4 small claw-like toes, no genitalia visible. Home system: Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2, a binary star system visible from the southern hemisphere approximately 38 light-years away with a spectral class of G2, identical to our Sunday. Powers: because of the cloning, their genetic sequence degrades after each cloning of a clone, thus leading to the reason for the abduction of Terran humans, as a method of repairing the damage in their own DNA or other genetic material, as well as adding new sequences to the cloning gene pool. This evidence leads to the hypothesis that the Greys use a kind of ultrasonic sound beam in conjunction with telepathy to paralyze an abductee during an abduction. Attitude: the nature of the Greys, especially the Zeta Reticuli and the short Greys, is that they do not have deep emotional feelings or compassion. They are, in fact, extremely curious about all aspects of existence, highly analytical and devoid of sentimentality. They look at humans much the same way a farmer looks at his cows, as an inferior species. They understand the passions and compassion of humans to the degree it is observable by them but do not their feelings. The Greys are not masters of their own fate. They are, rather, subservient to a reptilian race. In their desire to retain that freedom from their reptilian masters, they would hope to play the role of being masters here on Earth, or at least having enough control so as to be safe from slavery by any other species. The Zetas desire the help of humans in an expected future confrontation with the reptilian masters who are expected to follow soon, within the next 20 years. This refers to the so-called asteroid that is on its way toward Earth. It is housing millions of reptilian aliens. It has, however, temporarily diverted its path as it moves into the constellation of Draco. Witnessed: Secret Life, by David M. Jacobs. Communion, by Whitley Strieber. Missing Time, by Butch Hopkins. Intruders, by Butch Hopkins. Origin: the Greys evolved naturally from a cetacean-like life form on another world or were artificially modified. No genetic engineering by an outside species or themselves. They have evolved beyond the sexual reproduction process so that all sexual organs and their digestive tracts have totally atrophied. They are no longer capable of eating or indulging in sexual activities. Because of these manipulations, cloning became their only form of reproduction. A simple explanation for the origins of the Greys would be an evolutionary process similar to that of humans, but from a cetacean ancestor as opposed to a primate ancestor. At one point, instead of returning to the oceans, or perhaps leaving the oceans, cetaceans simply evolved as a land dweller, while retaining the vestigial features of the fish. Some time later, the Greys either had a large accident or other event that severely degenerated its genetic pool, or decided that the random genetic mixing of sexual reproduction was inadequate for their society, and embarked on cloning as a means to overcome their problem. After a period of time, the knowledge of advanced genetics, as well as the technology needed to create more advanced versions of their genetic machines were somehow lost, and the result is a society that depends on its machines for species survival, but who cannot recreate the technology. Another of the theories possible begins with a cetacean life form evolved on another planet. Unlike Terran cetaceans, they did not return to the oceans, but were discovered and later altered and cloned by another species. This species, called the Masters, needed a source of slave labor, and thus searched for an intelligent lesser species that they could genetically manipulate in order to be used effectively. Arbitrarily assuming that this period of time was about 1 million years ago, the most evolved species at that time on Terra would have been dolphins and whales. This might also have been possible on another planet, where a similar species evolved instead of a primate-like organism. Under this theory, the cetacean ancestors of the Greys were taken and genetically altered into an upright, bipedal species capable of doing labor for the Masters. After a time, however, the Greys apparently rebelled and are now on their own, using the technology of the Masters. But since they were created to simply operate them, and not to design them, their knowledge of the technology's operation is lacking. This theory would explain the lack of knowledge of genetics that the Greys seem to suffer from, and why they can't simply make their own genetic code artificially more diverse. They are able to manipulate the technology and use it to their advantage, but are unable to understand the actual theoretical aspects and operations behind the use of their equipment, thus resulting in a need for abduction of humans. Biology. Various descriptions taken from dissections and abductees reports relate that following characteristics: a non-functioning digestive system, absence of reproduction organs, two separate brains, movement is deliberate, slow and precise. Alien subsistence requires that they must have human blood and other biological substances to survive. The two separate brains are separated by midcranial lateral bone without any apparent connection. Some autopsies have revealed a crystalline network which is thought to have a function and telepathic, which help to maintain a group consciousness between members of the same species. Even without sexual organs, the Greys seem to have gender, and are not simply neuter. The genders, however, appear to be completely determined by the mind, with the bodies being almost identical. Abductees report that some Greys feel or seem feminine, while others are very masculine. This seems to point to a time of sex differentiation, which was bred out physically, leaving only the mental pattern to demonstrate the differences between males and females in the Grey social infrastructure. It should also be noted that female Greys are very rarely seen, and are reported to be sterile and incapable of giving birth to offspring. The males are the ones most commonly observed, and simple deduction will show that there is one scenario possible: the Grey females are few in number, and must be isolated for some reason, perhaps to prevent their loss or for genetic repositories. Nevertheless, because Greys cannot breed naturally, due to a lack of sexual organs, artificial methods must be incorporated into their society on a massive, if not simply large, scale to prevent their demise as a species. The Greys consume nourishment through a process of absorption through their skin. The process, according to abductees who have witnessed it, involves spreading a biological, liquid protein formula that has been mixed with hydrogen peroxide, which oxygenates the slurry and eliminates bacteria onto their skin. Food is converted to energy by chlorophyll by a photosynthetic process. To eliminate, they need to pass the substance through some part of their body, much the same way plants eliminate through their skin or outer shells. They use hydrogen peroxide for helping with that elimination as well. Waste products are then excreted back through the skin. Many abductees have noted that the Greys have a distinct series of odors. The Zeta Reticuli Greys feed upon glandular secretions of humans and are said to abduct humans and extracting the secretions for themselves. It is also said that Greys absorb certain substances from parts of the cattle that stabilize them during the cloning process, mostly substances that comes from certain mucous membranes, the lips, nose, genitals and rectum, and also from certain organs. Aside from feeding off of human and animal proteins and fluids, they also allegedly feed off the life energy the vital essence or soul energy of humans, as do other reptilian species, in what may be considered a vampirial type of hunger for human vital fluids.